Hello and welcome back. Well, it is time to jump on the next storyline. As you can see, I did already prepare my ship for it. So it is Divine Redemption. Okay, well that's a lovely name. But first, let me show you my fit. Now, at the moment, I do fly a Arbitrator Covert tops, and I did change its fit a lot. Now, I did replace my C-type weapons with missile launchers. In the medium slots I have medium group armor repairers. As drones I do use Valkyries and infiltrators. Most of the time I'll be using the Valkyries because they are very effective. I do have a C-type medium MVD, a adaptive armor hardener, and of course a 800mm armor plate with a medium armor repair. So this is a armor fit, purely a armor fit. Now let's see what the mission has to offer. A 50 million ISK reward mission, and so far I do see only one combat site, so that will be interesting. This might be a fast mission, or in this case it might be a long one. And I do have to do some transporting first. That's the easier part. Okay, I have arrived at the first station that was a couple of jumps away from the original mission location. Okay, let's see what the next step will be. So, since this is a tier 8 storyline, I do expect the other Amarr assault battlecruisers to show up. And so far, I did learn from personal experience that some of these battlecruisers can be very deadly. Well, I guess I'm about to find out how deadly the oracles are. Now I have to say, the oracle is most likely to be one of the first assault battlecruisers that I will buy. I absolutely love the design of that ship. It looks very good, at least for me. And that ship will be most likely the first assault battlecruiser that I will buy. Afterwards, the second one might be the Tornado, and after the Tornado, I'll most likely go with a Naga. Okay, well that's a interesting conversation there, so I have to get a DNA sample. Okay, well that's interesting. Warping at 100 from the anomaly, or should I say warping 100 from the site. Okay, well let's see what will happen. Hopefully this ship will survive. Now you might be wondering, why did I switch the fit into a full on armor repair fit? Well, back when I flew my, I think it was a Vexor Navy, these ships did manage to mostly destroy my shield, and of course they did manage to do some decent damage to my armor. So just to be safe, because I think this is my first time that I fly the ship for this mission, just to be safe, I will be doing this mission for the first time with this ship, with this fit, just to see how it will perform, and of course to test out all of these enemy ships. Okay, well the primary target will be that Oracle. Well, as you can see, they have a very long range. I am 70 kilometers away from these ships, and they still manage to do a decent amount of damage on my shield. Now, they use lasers as their primary weapon. Lasers do EM damage and thermal damage. Mostly they're doing EM damage, but of course they can also do thermal damage. That means they are going to be destroying shields very quickly if you don't have good EM or thermal resistances. But once they reach the armor, the damage should fall off because the armor has high resistances on thermal and on EM. And of course the armor hardener that I have will further help me at maintaining my armor, the free group armor repairs that are going to help me preserve my capacitor. Now you can also install large group armor repairs. They can fit somehow, and they also repair a lot more, but of course they also use a lot more fuel. Now speaking of fuel, fuel is taking 32% of my cargo hold, which honestly is more than enough for this mission. For fuel, I do use liquid oxygen, I use heavy water, but the most efficient fuel source is using the plasmids. They are more expensive, but they can use less cargo hold and overall are more efficient. But if you don't want to spend a lot of ISK on plasmids, you can use heavy water or you can use ozone. Both of these fuel sources are cheap and of course they get the job done. In my case, I use a combination of all of these three fuel sources, mostly to preserve the more expensive plasmids. Well, next target will be that interceptor that somehow did manage to get too close, but that interceptor is not a threat. So 3 of these group armor repairs are doing a very good job, I must say. My armor can be fully repaired with only using the 3 group armor repairs, although the cycle is 18 seconds. They don't use your capacitor. That allows me to use my capacitor more for the MVD or for the armor hardener, and of course on the armor plate. But if I have to use the armor repair, I will use the armor repair if I start taking massive amounts of damage, which so far is not the case, and so far I am actually doing quite well. Okay, well, the next target is that Malware Guardian, because it is the next closest target to me. And of course, you have to keep in mind these oracles, the assault battlecruisers, are using long-range weaponry. Now, why is this mission important? Well, in the future update, when we get warp scramblers and when we get bubbles, also we are going to get a target painter and we are going to get several other modules. I did hear that most of these ships are going to be equipped with a warp scrambler. Mostly the cruisers, destroyers and the frigates. So in that case, you don't want to be too close to these ships if you don't have a decent tank that doesn't rely on MVDs. Because I think everyone knows that a warp scrambler also disables your MVD. If you get scrambled, you can't use a MVD, and if you rely on a MVD, then that can be a problem, because that will kill the ship's speed, and of course it prevents you from warping. In that case, if that happens, then the ship is maybe toasted, but in some cases that's not a problem, and those cases include if you use a afterburner. They do not affect afterburners, so if you use a afterburner you are safe, but again, be very careful in the future updates. After, of course, they add the next update, most of the frigates and destroyers, and of course some cruisers, are going to come equipped with a warp scrambler, which is a very dangerous module, and of course a very fun to use module if you do PvP. Well, the next oracle is going down. So far the fit is holding out quite well. They cannot penetrate my armor. Even if they do, I can repair very quickly. And of course the tactic that I use still works, and of course the tactic that I use is going to keep on working for a very long time. Let's see, the next primary target will be that Arbitrator. Okay, well, and of course I have to say these oracles don't have a lot of shield, armor and hull. These ships are getting destroyed very quickly, so you are not going to lose too much time shooting the assault battlecruisers, which is a surprise to me because I do remember that in the previous tier 8s that I was doing, the tier 8 assault battlecruisers were actually very tanky. But I guess every storyline does have different ship types and of course different enemy ships. Okay, well, the next target is going to be that cruiser. After the cruiser, I think I'll switch to, let's see, well, I have these two oracles sitting at around 110 kilometers from me. They can be a good primary target, I think. But there is also this prophecy at 88 kilometers from me that is also looking like a good target. Which one should I attack after this one? Kind of a tough question, because I usually like to keep my targets sorted by range, but of course I do have some special occasions where I don't target the ship that's closest to me. Now I want to get these oracles because they are at the moment the ship with the longest range, and of course they also have decent DPS and they can do a lot of damage to me, and there are at least 4 of these ships flying around. But in the end I did decide to go with the prophecy because it was the closest ship and I couldn't afford to get closer than I already was. Well then, with the prophecy down, I can focus on the other battlecruisers that are left, and of course that means time to focus on the next oracle. Okay, I did drop my drones, time to take range. They did penetrate my shield. I did take very minor armor damage. And of course they are mostly scratching the paint on my ship at this distance because of the high thermal and high EM resistances that I have. And of course I did use 2 of the group armor repairers. They did a good job. The group armor repairers are excellent for this kind of job. We'll have to test the large ones out very soon. But of course that also requires for me to pick up a little bit more fuel. The large group armor repair will use more fuel. Okay, well, so far I have to say this mission is oddly very easy. I didn't expect this mission to be this easy, but I am not going to complain. I am absolutely not going to complain. Now, you might ask, where are the elite ships? Well, the elite ships are going to be interesting because differentiating between the elites and the normal ships might be a bit difficult. But of course, I will show you a trick on how to spot the elite ships if they're not classified as elite ships in the ship's name that we can see under the icon of the current targeted ship, which is the case in this mission, and that might be a problem because that might cause you to target the wrong ship. While it's not necessarily important to target the elite ships first. The elite ships are mostly the fastest, and in a lot of cases they do also a lot of damage. So marking them as a primary target is not a bad idea, and I do recommend that you target the elite ships first as a primary target. That's what I am doing for a very long time now, and so far I didn't have any problems with that at all. Now, of course, the elite ships might be more tanky, but shooting them down will ensure that the rest of the mission remains easy, because the elite ships are causing the most trouble for a lot of pilots. And of course they did pose a threat to me in the start, back when I was still adjusting myself to the game, but now the elite ships are, in my eyes, flying east, and as that, I am going to mark them as a primary target, and of course the other reasons. Now, so far, we did see the elite ships give around 1 million ISK reward for shooting them down. In this mission, the elite ships are going to give you a very decent amount of ISK. You'll see once I clear this wave. I think so far, between all the other tier 8 elite battlecruisers, I think this mission has the highest bounty on these elite battlecruisers, which is not a bad thing. In the end, we all need ISK, and well, also besides ISK, I think they can also give decent loot that I am going to be very curious about. As you might know, one of the next ships that I'll be flying will be the Dominic's, and of course for that ship I do need to get a lot of new modules that I can also get from doing these missions, and of course I will need the large drones, which I'll be getting very soon as well. The last Harbinger is left. The last battlecruiser has been destroyed, and well, okay, so this wave absolutely has elite ships, and they are hidden. So here you have to be very careful, and I do recommend that you stop your ship at around 230 kilometers from the center of the map, and then you wait to spot the elite ship. Now these two are elites because they are approaching me very rapidly. That means I have to prepare myself to run for my life if I want to remain in one piece, because that is a elite oracle and a elite arbitrator. Well, I absolutely don't want to get shot by either of these two ships, so I'll be preparing myself to burn away. As you can see, they are very fast. They did approach me very quickly, and these two ships should be your primary target. Now, of course, I will start to take range. I start to take damage already, okay. I did launch my drones. I did enable 2 of the group repairers. I did take a moderate hit there from the elite battlecruiser, but I did reach the 240 kilometer barrier, and now I will be safe from any incoming fire from these ships, because they are going to be busy reapproaching the center of the site. Well, I have repaired my ship. I have to say that was a big hit from that oracle. And now I'll leave my drones to slowly but surely destroy these two elite ships. Now this one, the Elite Oracle, is scary. I'll admit that ship is fast, and it did a lot of damage. Well, time to focus on the Oracle. I will approach the ship, and of course that means I have to get out of the 240 kilometer barrier. That means that ship will start to chase me again. Now here the most important thing is timing. I want to drop the drones before the ships start to chase me, so that I have enough time to return to the safety of the limit of this site. Now okay, I did drop my drones, time to turn around. I also did get a good hit from that Oracle. I did decide to use the armor plate just in case I start to take any more damage, but that wasn't necessary. Well, actually it did save me from taking further incoming damage, so that's good. I was close to the barrier, now I am on the barrier and I am safe from any incoming damage. Now I will repair my armor and I will wait for the drones to destroy that highly dangerous battlecruiser. Have to admit, this might be the most dangerous elite battlecruiser that I did face so far in any of the tier 8 storylines. Okay, well, slowly but surely that thing is going down, and you are going to see the bounty of that battlecruiser. At first, I have to admit, I didn't expect to see such a bounty, but in the end, it did prove to be quite a decent amount. So far, the Taos and Naga battlecruisers did give 1 million each. Now, this one will be a little bit higher, as you will see later on. Now, I have to say the attention to detail on this ship is very nice. As we can see, even the turrets are painted in the blood red and golden color. That's a nice touch from the developers. Okay, the ship should be going down any minute now. 1.5 million is reward bounty. Okay, that's a very nice bounty, I have to admit. That makes me curious to see the bounty on a elite battleship. Must be around 5 million. I'll have to test that out very soon. Now, so far, as you can see, the ship is doing a very good job. Of course, I think that I could have kept my original fit, with the only change in the high slots where I would keep the current modules. Okay, let's see. So this is the third wave, and again, here there are a couple hidden elite ships. Now again, you should use the same tactic to make the elite ships show themselves, and that is to make them start to approach you very quickly. And in that case, you can easily see which one of these ships is a elite ship, because usually the elites are the fastest in most cases, but of course there can be some other elite ships that are less dangerous, but they are slower and you are not going to notice them. Okay, let's see. Now I will stop my ship here, I think. Well, I did stop my ship there for a moment. Now let's see what the ship velocities will tell me. Well, there is a... Okay, well, I don't like this. Oh my god, another elite oracle. Are you... Okay, well... Okay, that's a surprise. Did not expect two of these in a row, but okay. That's 1.5 million ISK again. There we go. As you can see, that thing is approaching me very fast. Well then, same tactic as before. Let it get closer to me. Then I can start. Okay, well my shield is taking damage. Okay. Surprisingly, they still do a lot of damage despite being... Oh my god, that was a nasty hit. 1644 damage on my shield. I think that was even a critical hit. Okay, well then, that was a massive hit, I have to admit. Those things hit like a truck. Well then, my drones also hit like a truck, so good luck surviving these 3 or 4 Valkyries. I think, yep, this ship will now play with my drones. Okay. I'd rather have this Oracle to play with my drones than to play with my frozen corpse, so I guess that's fair. After quite a bit of waiting, the ship is going down. I say quite a bit of waiting because I think I did lose connection 2 times, so I had to warp in and warp out 2 times. That's why it took so long. But the ship has been destroyed, and that's a nice 1.5 million ISK bounty. Okay, well, 24 more ships are left on the field. Now, of course, keep in mind that you are going to have other elite ships, and in most of these cases they are going to be mostly harmless. The Oracles are still going to be a primary threat though, because they have the longest range. Now, I'll stick to my policy here. That means I will shoot down the closest ship first, and then I'll proceed to shoot down the ships that are more further away. And that's one of my, well, not a policy exactly, but that's one of my personal rules that I like to follow when I do these missions. Sorting targets by range can prevent fast ships to get too close to you, and of course it can prevent any mistakes that can also happen. Okay, now I have to admit, these ships do look very nice, although I don't quite like the design of this ship, although I have to say it looks very good. It looks very good. Okay, let's see. So the next target will be that Oracle. It is at 92 kilometers. It's the second closest ship to me. And after that I can also proceed to chase down that cruiser, but I might also save the cruiser for one of the last targets. Only 5 more ships left on the field. I have to say this was surprisingly not a too difficult mission. Now, of course, that will change in one of the next updates when they introduce warp scramblers. That's gonna be fun. In my case, I am still going to be safe because I will still use drones as my primary weapon as my weapon of choice for storylines, because they are just that effective and because they are so safe to use that I don't have to worry about any scramblers, because they are only effective if you approach the wrong ship. Now, I did notice not all of these oracles also. That's one of the things that I kind of forgot to mention. Not all oracles do have long range weapons. For example, this oracle has a very bad time tracking me for some reason. I don't take damage from this ship, although I did take a lot of damage from the previous oracles at this distance. So they do come with heavy long-range lasers and close-range lasers, so keep that in mind. How to differentiate between these two? I think it's the color of the laser. That's one of the things, that's one of the ways how to see what kind of weapon they use. So in this case I can use all 4 drones on this ship without taking range to 100 kilometers from this ship. Well, then it seems like the next target will be the Arbitrator, because that ship happens to be within the range and afterwards I'll make my way up to the other Oracle battlecruisers. Now for this mission I think a prophecy would be perfectly fine, although I still did use this ship just to explore the mission. This ship allows me to be very fast and of course to avoid most incoming damage, but a prophecy can do this mission just fine, I think, and it should be, because it is after all a battlecruiser. And well, the last Oracle is left on the field. Well, I have to say, those ships were really fun to shoot down. They were a good opponent, I have to admit. They did a good job to scare me for the first time when I did play this mission. And well, the only thing that's left here for me to do is burn a little bit of fuel, then collect all of these wrecks, and then collect the cash container that's left on the field. Well, then I have to say this was a very good mission, and might be one of the fastest tier 8s to do, because there is only one combat site. So if you want to do tier 8s, I think you can do this mission. You can do this mission very quickly. Well, I did collect the cash container. Now it's time to return to the station, pick up my well-deserved reward, and after that go and see what the supply crate will give me. Alright, well, I am warping at the station. Have to say, this ship so far did prove itself to be very, very reliable, and I can't wait to see how the tier 9 variant of this ship will do. And I do like the design of this station, it looks very nice as well. Okay, well, the moment of truth. Let's see. Give me that disc, that well-deserved disc. Okay, well, that's a interesting conversation. There we go. 47 million ISCA. Well, that's of course the minus 5% from the corporation tax. Now let's see, what will I get from the supply chest? Let's see its market price first. 11 million. Okay, well, it's not that expensive actually. Okay, that's nice. Let's open it. Let's see what's inside. Well, okay, well, a medium pulse laser. Okay, well, I think I can actually, let's see. Well, I have C-type medium lasers. I think I can sell this. Yeah, I can sell it for a decent price. Well, let's open this box just because it was laying there for some reason. I don't know how this did get here. And well, that's also a very nice loot. Alright, well, let me put all of that in the cargo hold. Well then, I hope that you enjoyed. This was a very fun mission to do. And well, stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.